Say you're a commercial property owner. Maybe you're an owner-user, maybe you have tenants. Chances are someone has approached you to put solar on your roof, either to own the system yourself or to lease it from a third party. You probably got a beautiful presentation, analyzed it for a minute, and then looked around and rather quickly realized no one else is doing what you're being asked to do. So why should you? And if you're like most commercial building owners, you left it at that. If that's you, I can pretty much validate two things. One, you probably made the right decision, because up until this point, commercial solar has made little economic sense for most commercial property owners. The value of any potential energy offset has been remarkably low relative to the risks involved. And two, you probably made your decision, albeit the right decision, based on quite a few misconceptions. Now, the purpose of this video is to clear up those misconceptions, because we are now at an inflection point where the risk to reward ratio is actually changing for commercial solar. And the concept of generating your own power is likely worth a second look. So let's dig in. What are these misconceptions that I'm talking about, and why are they important? Well, there are 5 key concepts that are often misunderstood. The first is how solar systems offset utility charges. Most building owners think that solar will make sense so long as they can produce the same number of kilowatt hours they are consuming for a lower cost per kilowatt hour than what they're paying to their utility. But that doesn't factor in things like non-bypassable charges, demand charges, and other arcane fees that either need to be offset by some other means or accepted as unavoidable post-solar. So what am I saying? Traditional commercial solar actually pencils much worse than most people realize. But once you understand how the math works, it's all the more impressive to see where we're at with the breakthroughs that are taking place today. With the right technology, both energy and demand charges can be fully offset now, making it possible to adjust rate plans and eliminate many of those other miscellaneous fees I just noted. So today you can actually get to a 90 to 95% offset, perhaps even more. Okay, on to misconception number 2. It's often better to own than lease over the long term. And it doesn't take more effort to be an owner. But what most people don't realize is that you can own for as little as it costs to lease, sometimes for even less. Specialty financiers have now made it possible to finance solar just like a piece of equipment, but with amortization terms exceeding 20 years, and with security interests only against the solar systems themselves and not against your real estate. This has really changed the risk profile of commercial solar, because you don't have to weigh whether it would be better to deploy your capital elsewhere. The capital that you have access to with a solar system is only accessible for solar, and it doesn't impact your equity position or your other borrowing power. Okay, moving on. Most owners look at solar as a way to save a negligible amount relative to their overall budget. Maybe they're running a $20 million a year business and they have a $10,000 electric bill. So they figure if they install a solar system, get a 50% offset, save, say, $5,000 a month, they're not really moving the needle very much. But you have to look at 3 factors to really understand the financial impact of going solar. What's the cost of getting to a 90% offset? What's the value of that 90% offset going to look like in 2, 3, or 10 years given utility price inflation? And what's the capitalized value of that savings after utility price inflation really kicks in? Our state utilities are going to be spending billions of dollars over the next decades to accommodate increasing demand and increasing renewable energy generation. And this is likely going to result in massive rate increases. So a bill that's $10,000 today is almost certainly going to be $20,000 or more in 10 years. And that $20,000 will be worth $5 million in capitalized value. Just a few years ago, the cost to get to that $5 million in capitalized value might have actually been $5 million in system investment. But today, with improvements in technology, improvements in subsidy programs, and the rate escalation we've already experienced, the system cost is a fraction of that. The net out-of-pocket cost to get to that $5 million in capitalized value is literally nothing with savings from day one if you finance it the right way. Okay, let's go on to the next misconception. Most building owners that I talk to think all solar systems are the same. One panel may be higher in quality than the next, it might have a better warranty, or it might look a little different. But in the end, owners think they're all the same. Well, not really. Commercial solar is a lot more nuanced than most people realize. For example, you can now design a system to have a more symbiotic relationship with the building on which it sits and produce as much as 35 to 40% more energy per square foot than a traditional system. The new system components and the system design can actually impact performance by as much as 100%. So to say all solar is the same really isn't accurate at all. Okay, this brings us to the last and possibly most important misconception. A lot of building owners think that solar isn't worth the hassle because their existing utility bill just isn't that high. Maybe they have a big property, but they only pay the utilities on the common areas. Or maybe they don't have common areas at all, so they have virtually no utility bill. These owners are still leaving millions of dollars in value-add potential on the table. In almost all retail, industrial, multifamily, and office applications, building owners can install solar and contract with their tenants to become their energy provider, giving the tenants a reduced rate and creating a new income stream in the meantime. An income stream that could have a sizable capitalized value when it comes time to sell or borrow against the building. In some cases, just having one or two tenants under this sort of program could add a tremendous amount of equity to your property. So there you have it, 5 misconceptions that can get in the way of properly evaluating commercial solar from a building owner's perspective. Now, like I said earlier, I think we are at an inflection point, and I think we are about to see a lot more PV get installed. Now, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but the proposition just seems a lot more compelling today than it's been in the past. You get nearly 100% offset by knocking out those demand charges. You finance your system without being collateralized by building equity or coming out of pocket for that matter. You produce more energy per square foot with custom system designs. You leverage all the utility rate hikes that are on the way to your advantage. And you create a new income stream that, through the resale of your energy to your tenants, becomes worth a ton. It's really a remarkable time for commercial building owners who don't look at today's solar and think it's the same as the past. If you'd like to learn more about how this opportunity might apply to your particular property portfolio, please check out the link below.